Got him. Russia. Putin's blunder. Food from Russia was only fit for the trash. I'm gonna make this long story short, although we're probably gonna revisit it later. Russia send food packages to Gaza, you know? We're gonna give aid to Gaza people because Russia is great, Russia is strong, and we support the Palestinians. And I remember asking my mom yesterday, so what do you think happened? What do you think happened? And my mom was, let me guess, the crates were full of weapons instead of food. I was like, if only. If only the crates were full of weapons instead of food. But no. Russia being Russia did send food. It did send big packages of food. There's only one problem with it. The entirety of the food was expired and was only fit to be thrown out to the trash. That's the most Russian thing ever. I can't even believe it. Russian aid, Russian style. God. That is the most Russian thing ever. What did I even expect? When I was teen or something, like everything Russian has always had like the reputation in Poland of being unsafe, of being very unsafe, you know? And I remember my best friend, Tuan, from Vietnam. He said that before he came to Poland, to live in Poland, they were temporarily in Russia. And that in Russia, it was definitely unsafe for him to just get out of the apartment and walk the street, you know? And he also warned me about flying the Russian airlines. Because when you fly on the Russian airlines, you feel all the time when you fly as if the plane was about to break apart, fall apart. The Russian airline experience, the experience with a lot of tension, a lot of emotion. I'm gonna be honest, for a long time when I was small and teen, I assumed that it was actually dangerous for me to go to Russia. That just probably something would happen to me if I went. Yeah, and ironically, well, sadly, there was a great catastrophe a couple of years ago. One of the Russian airlines. Yeah, I laugh, but unironically, I was warned. I was years ago. I was warned not to choose Russian airlines ever, because it feels like the planes are just gonna fall apart. Like I have to say that that's well, it's dangerous for you to go to Russia now. No, I felt it was dangerous during peacetime in the 90s and early 2000s. Alexander Zamblov, Red Army, uh, Troy members died. Damn. And also Because if you're not from Eastern Europe, I'm not sure if Karasi is going to confirm this. That's something that has been going on just recently. This sort of the world sort of seeing Russia for what it is and being raised in Poland, sort of growing up in Poland, this attitude, this sort of thinking of one, Russia is really, really, really wild and unpredictable, and two, Russia is a state of mind where constant things that sort of circulated in the ether. There was an aviation engineer in the USSR, and it was done under the table with vodka. It's payment not very safe. In Russia, we thought Poland were the European ones. European or European? Because I've heard Russia calling Poland Europeans, as in the peons of Europe. Or even I've heard the term that Polish people are the Europe, like the white N words of Europe. European. Oh, European. We had Polish markets for all sort of things at the time. And what else is there for me to say? Some smuggled. Oh, yeah. Dressing in Germany, Russia always was thought as very predictable, even than more than US in some sense, and even the Soviet times. It's weird combination of West German economism and East German propaganda. Hopefully that's gone now. I have not been to Russia since my grandfather died in 2008. I don't miss it. Also I'm gonna go back to 1 second to the whole Russian speaker thing. Because I said that before World War One or after World War One, no, before World War One, like the Congress, Poland was in a very similar situation to Ukraine, that there were a lot of Russian speakers, you know, in the Congress Kingdom. It was, for example, dictated by the fact that people wanted education, and the only education available was in Russian. So people had to speak Russian, right, to get to school. But you don't even have to go to before World War One. Like, I'm quite certain that I'm one generation away from a lot of people in Poland being Russian speakers. Like, that used to be a big thing during the Soviet Union times, that a lot of Polish people would be just Russian speakers. It used to be super common for people to just speak Russian. My mom speaks Russian. My grandfather spoke Russian fluently and comfortably. Like, people just spoke Russian, and then when the Soviet bloc fell, etc., Russian became the hated language, and the level of people speaking Russian just fell on its face because nobody wanted to learn it. And I'm from the generation that just didn't want to learn it. but I could never wrap my head around the gender objects. Russia wanted to improve its image, so it decided to send humanitarian help to Gaza. This kind gesture will probably not bring any sympathy to Moscow, towards Moscow, because as uh, reported, all the gifted food was expired. Expired food. And that was news from yesterday. So, pretty fresh. So, yeah. Basically, Russia. Russian style humanitarian help. But then what do you expect from Russia that just doesn't care about anyone? Russia doesn't care about Palestinians. Russia doesn't care about Russians. Why would it care about Palestinians if it doesn't even care about Russians? Of course it doesn't. I refer you to the infamous Moscow theater incident. How many of you are familiar with the Moscow theater incident?